welcome. I'm Jeff Harrison along with my co-host.
Leslie Spohr.
Welcome to Twisted, Bent, and Exhausted podcast for entrepreneurs.
It's our guide to sanity and success. That's our point, right?
Yeah. If we were to take two, but we're not, we would have made that a little cleaner. But hey, Leslie, how's it going?
It's going great this morning. I don't know why I'm so happy. It's early in the morning. I'm not usually this cheerful.
Yeah, Leslie. Normally we have a particular time to do our podcast, and I'm just walking in the door and I see your email. Hey, can we start? And it was like 7 minutes from where I was at. And I was coming home from the gym. I was sweaty. I'm like, sure. What the heck? So we're a little bit, I don't want to say winging it, but I think we've got a great show today. No, today we're going to talk about again, continue with the challenges that a typical new business owner faces in the first 12 months, not beyond that, but in those first 12 months. And we've talked about a couple of the topics. This week, we're going to talk about how to make yourself different. We call it differentiation in the market. So it's going to set you apart, because here's the thing. Leslie, you can chime in because you know these numbers. I mean, if you're saying, hey, I've been an HVAC tech forever. Now I'm going to open up my own, HVAC company. There are over 500 HVAC licensees in the Coachella Valley, and I'm sure it's higher than that now, but that was the last time I checked. So if you're jumping in, Michael Gerber, who wrote the book about, differentiation, basically said, hey, play in the blue ocean, not the red. This would definitely be a red ocean. What are your thoughts on that?
You mean, wait, I don't understand. I think I've heard that metaphor, but I don't know which was the good one. Which is the good one?
Yeah, the red. If you're swimming in a red ocean, it means it's very, very full
Rare.
Of your competitors. It is. Everybody's there. You want to go out into the blue ocean. So today we're going to talk about, hey, how do you take your business from the red ocean, even though you say, well, should I do this business because there's already
so many of them.
500? How do I set myself apart? and so we want to get into the blue ocean, not the red ocean. And unfortunately, in the first 12 months, if you could be let's say a Mexican food restaurant, and if you don't have something that sets you apart from all the other Mexican food restaurants, you are just that, you're not going to make it. But if you do something unique, like, hey, every time you go in, you get a free, no matter what you order, you get free. Now, I'm not talking about chips and salsa because everybody does that. That doesn't differentiate yourself. You could differentiate yourself if you didn't, but that wouldn't be a good one, right?
No.
So you want to set yourself apart. So we're going to talk about that today. And really, let's talk about the first reality. Why most businesses can't do this, or they think they can't do it, is because the challenge is cash. Because anytime we think of doing, hey, we've got to do ads and this and that, it all takes cash. So they don't do that.
Right.
Can this be done without spending loads and loads of cash?
Oh, of course it can. There's all kinds of stories out there about big mega billionaire people who started their company on a shoestring, right? That they had no money and they built this $1 billion empire. And I tend to believe that's not true. Everybody has to spend something. It's how you spend your initial capital investment so that you get the most bang for your buck, right? So like I saw myself on billboards, or my company on billboards early on, but it was many years before I could afford to do that, because it's not a cheap investment. So the ways that you can maximize your initial cash, and I think we're going to talk about this a little bit later, but just to summarize, is to put a decent amount towards your marketing collateral, so that you because it's your first impression as a business. So you want to be able to show people that you are serious about your business. And you do that by having high quality brochures, logo, websites, and that your brand is consistent across all of those pieces, so that it shows a thoughtful, intentional approach. I think that's really important. I think we mentioned this last time. You can go and have business cards printed online at all kinds of places, but they're all cookie cutter business cards. Whereas if you go and have a graphic designer design something specific for you, or even create a digital business card for you, and then it carry your branding forward, your colors, your logos, your taglines, all of that stuff, even the way it looks, different images that you select, then you have a consistent brand. And having a solid, tight brand is very important. Other places where you can put your cash initially has to do with things that save you time in your business so that you can be efficient, whether it's a point of sale transaction system for a retail business so that your inventory replenishment is automatic, or it's a software system like we have, Essential Elements, to optimize our business practices, or an expensive printer. When I first started, I bought at the time, $800 for a printer was ridiculous, but it does high quality color printing. And if you have to print color at a regular printing company, it's very expensive. So it had paid for itself over and over again to have a good quality color printer. Other things might be a good laptop or tablet, something that you can work from that works for you all of the time. So as far as your cash goes initially, is that you want to look for things for your particular business that strengthens it from a brand perspective and optimizes your time so you have more time to go marketing and networking and doing presentations.
Yeah, we talked about that. We talked about that last show. I just want to kind of bring us back on topic. Yep, that's the bell.
Did I wander?
Yeah, that's I didn't ring that, by the way. That's just her self-imposed bell. Like, okay, it's time to pass the baton.
I'll turn the sound off.
So here's the thing: is we're talking about differentiation yourself in the market. All those things Leslie talked about are critical. Some of the things that you want to do first is you want to find your unique angle. I mentioned Michael Gerber, and this is just 101 stuff. You want to set yourself apart. What do you do better, faster, or differently?
Oh, sorry.
You want to highlight this, and it's okay. And you want to highlight this in all your messaging, because once you do, like last week we talked about understanding your ideal target market and really who that is. Until you do that, you really can't go forward because you don't even know who you're looking for. Right. And the same thing about developing your unique angle. Somebody says, hey, what makes you different? You don't want to stumble and say something that says, oh, well, we give free chips with our, with everybody who comes in, chips and salsa. And they're like, that's lame. Everybody does that at a Mexican food restaurant. So you have to find your unique angle. As an example, Leslie was a guest of mine at my BNI location, which she is joining. I want to make sure she's going to join.
I'm joining.
Good. And one of the things she does is she gives out this coupon, and I'm going to have her explain it, but she gives us out. This is very unique. No one else that I know of in the marketplace that even offers anything remotely of what she does gives this out. Leslie, will you explain this?
Sure. We offer a free gift certificate to realtors, mortgage companies, insurance companies, anybody who wants to say thank you to their clients. And because we want the snowbird or the absentee home client, that's who we're looking for. So this gift certificate gets that client, that potential client, should they sign up with us, an extra 2 hours. So they get 6 for the price of 4. By giving this to we'll just go with real estate because that's the most common people that use them. By giving it to real estate, that gives them a no cost to them closing gift at the close of escrow. So when the escrow closes, they can say, thank you for working with me. And they give them this gift, which makes them look good. And it gets us in front of people for potential clients that we would never probably otherwise meet. And sometimes they sit on them for a while, and eventually they'll come and they'll say, hey, tell me more about your business. But our gift certificate includes a brochure, a business card, our booklet about absentee home care, and the gift certificate itself. So this has been very, very popular over the last, I've been doing this for about 15 years, and it's very popular. It's an organic grassroots way to market that gets you in. And, real estate agents in particular are hard to get them to share their clients with you because for a lot of reasons that I go into in my weekly marketing to realtors webinar, but they're difficult to reach and get to refer. They don't want to refer back to people. So by giving them something for free like this, they're happy to use it and share it with their buyers, which is fantastic. It's a win-win for everybody.
It has a huge imposed value that if I were a real estate agent or a mortgage company, we just close a deal to give this to my new homeowner, it shows a lot of value. And so there's a bonding piece in there when I give them a gift of that value to help them get settled in their new home or whatever that might be. It really does a connection between myself and this new homeowner. So, it could help them improve their referrals and things of that nature. But the point is it's something different. It's not something that everyone else is doing. She's found a unique angle in this one specific area for a niche that she speaks to. So I think that is an important takeaway. Think about, hey, your business, service or product, whatever it is, and what is it that, when you look at your competitors, they all do X. Well, can you do Y? It's one of those things that many, many years ago, when I first started getting into marketing, it says, find out what everybody else is doing and don't do it. So if everybody is putting pictures on Instagram and they're posting with information on there, text on the screen, I'm not going to do that because I'm going to look like everyone else. I'm going to do something different. So that's what Leslie has done. And here's the cool part. No one else has picked up on this. So she has differentiated herself for, as she said, the last 10 to 15 years, which is really cool. So think about what it is you can offer that is different, not same, because we make buying decisions based on difference, not similarities. You have something else.
I'd like to offer a couple more, some differentiators that we do. And then also one cautionary thing about the gift certificates. We have two things cautionary. One is we have a statement on there that says this certificate does not apply to vendor services, because we have had people try to redeem them to have their windows cleaned or the carpets cleaned or something. And that's not the purpose. It's for our concierge services, our labor, our internal labor. But second, I don't believe in discounting. Okay, because when you discount services, you're telling the potential new clients that you don't value what you do. Whether it's subliminal for sure, but there's some piece of them that acknowledges that you don't even believe in what you're selling for. However, if I give some extra time instead of discounting, what that does is it costs me very little, right? My cost of doing business is less than the retail price of doing business. It better be, or I shouldn't be in business. And so it doesn't look like a discount, right? And so you're still selling at the same rate. You're just giving them a little extra for it. And I think that's a better approach than saying, I'll give you 50% off. I'll give, discounts are really bad for your business, especially if you're in a service. Now, if you're in a retail market or some market where you're selling widgets, discounting widgets to get somebody in the door like Costco does with their chickens, right? Their chickens are way low under what they pay for them, right?
All those chickens.
Everybody loves those chickens, but it gets them in the door, and they always spend much more. I think the last time I checked, the average spend at Costco was about $300 if you get somebody in the door. And if that chicken or that $1.50 hot dog gets them in the door, they know they're going to get a decent amount of money out of it. So that's like they call it a loss leader. It's a way to get somebody in without discounting your prices. And that's what I want to be cautionary with the gift certificate. You want them in, but you want to tell them that the price is still the price, right? The second thing is I wanted to share with a couple of things that sets us apart. Now, you can't throw a stone these days without finding somebody who's running errands or shopping for somebody or walking somebody's dogs. All these are lifestyle management type services, right? So, and even out here in the desert, there are a number of people who say they do what we do. However, what sets us apart? Why would somebody hire us over another company? Well, for one thing, we we have a state-of-the-art software system that we utilize. It's our own proprietary thing that nobody else has, and it provides full transparency to the client and gives them access to their data any time of the day or night. Keeps them involved. They know what's happening. It gives them a sense of comfort. Nobody else has that. So yeah, maybe I'm flushing your toilets or running your water, but I'm also sharing this information for you. The other thing that we do that nobody else does, hardly out here, is we have written policies and procedures for everything we do. And so my people are all trained exactly the same, which means I can control the quality of our services as we grow, which is one aspect, as you know, small business owners quite often fail in, is that they're good when they're doing it themselves and they get a good reputation. But the minute they hire somebody to help them, their quality goes down the drain unless they tell them exactly how to do the job, right? So you have to have a differentiator. You know, your example of Mexican restaurants reminds me of hamburgers. How many different hamburger, not because I'm hungry, by the way, but how many different hamburger joints are there? There's McDonald's, there's Five Guys, there's In-N-Out. I mean, some of these are within a 2-block radius of each other, Jack in the Box, all these different ones. So what sets them apart so that they can get the business? And I could rattle off how they're different, but I won't. I just want to say, I want you to think about your business and what can make you different, because there's a difference between order winners and order differentiators. Order winners and order qualifiers. Order qualifiers are what people expect. They expect you to have quality. They expect you to have integrity. They expect you to have ethics. They expect you to put out a good product, right? All of those things they expect. So those do not set you apart. The same with HVAC companies. They're all expected to do those things, right? But what sets another HVAC? Well, maybe they provide 24-hour-a-day service. Hardly any of them do that, right? And out here in the desert where it reaches 120 degrees, if your AC goes out, you want somebody there right away, even if it's midnight or 1 a.m, right? So you've got to find that which separates you. How about in your business where you do digital marketing and content creation? What sets you apart from other companies that do that?
It's been a minute, Leslie. So as you say that, my mind struggles, quite honestly. It's like, what sets me apart? The biggest part that sets me as a differentiator is about a year ago, I started interviewing other digital marketing agencies worldwide. And the reason I did this, Leslie, is because I wanted to find out, I want to kind of check the pulse of, hey, how far are digital agencies along on that road of integrating artificial intelligence into their workflows? And what I found was almost none.
Right.
Very, very rarely. So what sets us apart is we are able to create content for our customers using artificial intelligence workflows consistently and effortlessly, and then optimize that with our humans, if you will. We'll go in there and double check it. So that is really the massive differentiator is we can set apart from that. Another set apart is the fact that we know business owners are very, very busy. So what we do is we will create an avatar for that business owner. Let's say I take a video of Leslie, and I'll have to take one video of her with a certain amount of time and a quality. And then from that point on, I can make all kinds of videos with Leslie on screen in her voice with lip syncing that looks like she's on screen.
Scary.
So these are the things that would set us clearly apart, because most digital marketing companies are still in that hey, we're writing it ourselves or putting it out there thinking it's better. And I don't mean to slam any digital marketing company out there. We all work very, very hard. But here's the part that I probably kept under my hat, and maybe this is why at first I was like, what's setting me apart? I'm glad you went first, because I had to think about it. It's almost like saying I did my homework, but this time I used a calculator. Right. And it was like cheating. Now, in my opinion, in my world, as I see it, is like, it's not cheating. You're still in a Conestoga wagon and you're racing me, and I have a Ferrari. So which one do you want to hire for you? And which one do you want to compete against? Now, there'll be a time where there'll be a leveling out. But for now, that's a big differentiator.
Yeah, and that's our point for everybody who's listening or watching us this podcast, is that you really have to sit down and examine whatever you're doing, retail, service. I can't even think of anything other than retail and service. I know there's more, that restaurants, whatever you're doing, you have to figure, or catering, and that's another good one. Whatever you're doing, what is different about your company? What do you offer that completely separates you from your competition? Because competition is a great thing. A lot of people said, "Oh, I don't want to start this business because there's already 10 of those in my city." I wouldn't let that stop me.
That just means the concept is proven.
Right. Well, a case in point, when I land on Executive Errands, my other company, to start that 20 years ago, I looked around and I didn't see that I was so naive. I didn't see that anybody was doing it. Right. So I spent like 3 or 4 months getting my marketing collateral built. And the day I was ready to turn on my website, there was a full page article in the lifestyle section of the local paper about another lifestyle management company. And I thought, well, crap, maybe I should do this. But you know what happened? Here we are all this time later, and I'm still in business, and they're long gone. They've been gone for many, many years. So it isn't so much about what you offer. Let me say it a different way. There will always be people that offer similar services or products, or your stationery store, your laundromat, whatever you do. There'll be other people that do it, because unless you're somebody from off this planet, I'm not sure that you could have an idea that's nobody's ever done. But what is it that you do differently that will bring in clients to you? And you got to get that an honest thought, because it could be something way off the mark that you're not even right now thinking about, which is exciting, I think.
Yeah, I want to share with you, because some people want to say, well, how will I figure out what is different from my company? Well, many, many, many years ago, when I was in the golf business, we would go shop our competition, and we would go there to be a golfer, and we would see how they run their operation. And what we were surprised with is what we thought these other country clubs, because that was our market set, that was our competition set, is we thought they were probably doing something at a very high level. And when we got there, we're going, wow, they're not coming into the parking lot, get in our golf clubs. We're having to walk our golf clubs from the parking lot. And these are like hundreds of dollars around kind of thing. And so that was just a little thing, right? Maybe they didn't provide a towel in the pockets of the golf cart. You had to bring your own towel. Well, as Leslie said, we live in the desert and it gets hot. Well, it's nice to have a wet towel if you're playing in the warmer months to stay cool. Those are little things. Or maybe it's one of those things like, okay, every time before you go out, the starter gives you 2 cups of ice, and you have a water bottle, it's a 2.5 gallon water tank on your golf cart. And maybe your competition doesn't have that. These are differentiators. It doesn't have to be monumental, because remember, people will remember these little differences, and that's why they'll come back. So if you're not sure where you fall, right, I would encourage you to say, go shop your competition. Now, in Leslie's case, she had no competition. She was
none.
purely in a blue ocean, and there was nobody out there to look at and say, what do they do? But 99% of us have competitors out there. Take that time. Most people, now here's a cool thing. I would say the vast majority, Leslie, will hear this and not go do it. And then they'll come back, like a lot of our golf friends would say, when I'd speak for the PGA and we talk about this, and I'd say, what makes your business set apart? And they would talk about, what do you call it? Not differentiators. You would talk about, these are expectations. Qualifiers. And it would be like, well, our golf course is in good shape. You can always find a game and you can play in 4 hours. These are expectations, gang. So go look at your competition, take what Leslie's talked about, and find out what you do better, faster, or differently, and highlight this in all your messaging. And then,
right. And I would say,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. My brain.
She's like a cat with a string. Geez, I can't get it. I can't get away from it. Here we go.
Okay. No, what I wanted to say is price is not the differentiator.
No.
Okay. So don't think that what you charge will set you apart from somebody else. If you try to undercut your competition, what you're going to do is devalue whatever it is you're offering, because people do look at, are you Apple, or are you, I can't think of a brand that's not, I don't want to say somebody who's not considered as good as Apple, but are you, I did that in the beginning. I shopped and found out what people were charging for this kind of service. There was nobody who was doing it like we were, but there were people that did absentee home care and things like that. And I purposefully at the time set my price higher than anybody else in the desert on purpose, consciously, because I wanted to be viewed as a quality service. And that's the intention I put out, and the power of positive thought that I put out, that we were quality and we are quality. We have built quality and we have that reputation. We also do more different kinds of things than anybody else, which justifies the cost. Now, we're not so far ahead these days as we were then, because of the way the economy has changed and pricing has changed and things, but we're still one of the most expensive out here. But it's in line with my target market. So, you really, all these things that we talk about from one episode to the next will build on each other and interact with each other, and they all need to be taken into consideration.
Absolutely. And I just brought up the next one. I think you've already talked about this, but I want you to see how this layers in. When you understand what differentiates you, you can then tie that into every part of what you do. I'll give you an example. There's a business out here called Fraser Pest Control, and they have a cool little logo with a what am I thinking of? A mascot. And that mascot is well known. And there was a point where every time we're in a meeting, they say, here they come. Everybody knows, there they go. And it's almost like there's another, and I'm not promoting anyone, but there's another instance of that in our desert where he's done a phenomenal job of this. And it's 760-777-7777. Everyone knows who that is. That is Walter Clark, and he is an attorney.
Oh, I was going to say, I thought that was the attorney.
Personal injury. So that is the power of that. Once you understand that he differentiated himself because he owned that phone number and he used it and played it very, very well. I think like General Air Conditioning, using their kids in their marketing. And I don't know how they kept their kids the same age for 20 years, but they've done it, right? So these are the things we're talking about. And then tie that into your website when you're talking about your messaging on your website. That is critical, because then you can tie all those differentiators in, because when somebody comes to your website, you have, I'm talking milliseconds to make a difference, and that will help. So, and it consistent. So, all right. So let's go to the next one, which is use storytelling. Share the why behind your business to create emotional connection.
Well, can we go back for 1 second? But I got to tell them something. You didn't let me tell
those
them
of
about
you those of you listening, do you ever know that when you're in a conversation, you never get the last word? So, okay, Leslie, go ahead.
Now, I apologize if that's the case, but just remember, we were talking about earlier about building quality marketing collateral. And so that was one place where I put not considerable money, but more money proportionately than I did in other things, because I wanted that professional, high quality brand image. And it was so high quality that when I would go do presentations with people, they would ask me if it was a franchise, which to me was the highest compliment you could receive, because if it looks that professional that somebody thinks you're a franchise, then you've attained your objective. Right. And so I would say, no, we're not a franchise. And they say, well, this stuff is fantastic. And I'm like, thank you. So that's kind of your goal, to look so professional that you can compete with the big boys. Okay, I'm done now. You can have the last word.
Yeah, I want to point out that whenever you're doing these things and you're finding your differentiator, make sure you're using from the mindset of your customer, not your mindset. It's what's in it for them. Because if you're highlighting things that are really cool for you and have no meaning for your customer, I know this goes without saying, but you're wasting your breath. If you tell them how, I use this and I use this, and I'll use example, and I don't mean to say, I use this type of ink in my printer, and you're not a printing business and it has no meaning for those people, sorry, they don't really care. It may set your business apart from your competitors, but how can you loop that back in that it's a benefit for them? So keep that in mind the whole time. Now we're moving on. So I did get the last word. It's not really a last word. Storytelling. Here's what I'm going to say about this, and I'm just going to throw the big potato to Leslie.
Okay.
The days of sitting around the campfire have just changed. It's now sitting around the digital tools that we have, whether it's Facebook, it's Instagram, whatever tool it is, it's YouTube. It's creating stories because people remember the stories. I want you to stop and think, if you're watching this or listening to this, of like, hey, remember a story that happened, let's say a decade ago, if you're older than 12, that a decade ago that happened that you still remember. Why do you remember the details? Because it was a story. Like, I remember these people called the Juicy Fruit. They were twins. And
that was double mint.
Double mint. Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. The women that did that are sisters, and they one of them were members of a club that I was at in Arizona.
Oh,
and so that was a connection. Now I remember the Coolies. Dick Cooley was the husband, and I remember his brother-in-law, Jack Cooley. I remember him as if I saw him yesterday. It's been almost 40 years.
You're aging.
Well, that's the deal. You know, I was 7 when I met him. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. That's a story. Now that you've heard that story, you'll remember it because there's something behind it. So when you're talking about your business, try to put a story behind it. Like, I'll give you one other example, and I promise. Whenever I was, again, in the golf business and I was teaching a lot, what I would do is I would tell my story about why I became a teacher and how I actually quit the game for 7 years and then came back. But this time I said, I'm going to do it different. I'm going to find out why the ball does what it did. Because when I first started and played competitively on tour, I was just a good athlete, had no understanding about the physics of the game. But once I understand the physics of the game, not only was it easier for me to improve and stay at a high level, but it was easy for me to teach somebody because there was a cause and effect. And it was the actual, what I'll call first cause, that I could just go back and say, this is what we're going to fix. And a lot of the other problems would go away. Those are stories that people say, wow, that's why I want to go hire him. Same thing with your business. You just have to spend some time and think, what is the story? What's my story? Why did I do this? Right? And use that story a lot. Leslie?
Yeah, I was wondering if you can teach me how to swing a golf club, because I can't do it.
I can teach you how to do it.
I don't know, because I took a class one time that says we can teach anybody to golf. Right. And so I went and took this class and struggled and struggled and struggled. And at the end, the guy looked at me and said, this is not your game. So yeah, I have my own golf story. But
if I can teach someone, and this is a little graphic, but I had someone call me one time and they wanted to take a lesson. And when they showed up, I didn't know. I remember the incident. She had accidentally, she was worked for a major corporation, and she was on a private plane, and she walked around and she got hit by the propeller.
Wow.
And when I saw her, there was disfigurement, and there was, parts of her arm and shoulder she could not use. We taught her how to be a pretty darn good golfer. So
wow.
You can do that. You're a piece of cake. Stay away from props.
Yeah, exactly. And I fly airplanes. So yeah, don't want to do that. So yeah, stories are pivotal to all of your marketing and all of the stuff that you do, because people do remember them. Jeff's absolutely right about that. My story, why I got started in this industry, is I worked in aerospace and defense manufacturing for way too many years. And part of those years as a consultant. So I was gone 50 weeks a year from my home base. And so I wished I'd had somebody that could do these things for me, the things that I do for other people now. And that's why I started my business. But one of the ways that you can use, and that's really a simplification, I could go into that story much longer, but one of the ways that you can use stories to your benefit is in newsletters. I think newsletters are still a stellar way to build your brand and to get people to like you, because people, that's cliche about people want to do business with people they know. That's still true even today, right? And so how do they get to know you when you're on the other side of a computer monitor, or there's only so many hours in the day and you can't meet with every single person? Well, if you write a newsletter that is more like a blog, where you're writing stories and you wind those stories into some kind of moral or a soft sales pitch, or you can illustrate how that story relates to what you do. If you can do all of that, then people will remember you and they will come to like you. I can't tell you, I've been doing a newsletter for the whole time I've been in business, and I do two a month for each company. So one comes out every week. They skip over each other. What do they call that? Frog? I can't think of but it jumps over. Anyway, so see, when you get old, the nouns are the first thing to go. That's what I've learned. The nouns, they just leave. Hop, skip, and a jump. That's what it is. So I always tell stories, and I get email responses every single week from different readers who tell me how much they enjoy the newsletter. Or I'll meet somebody at an event somewhere and they'll say, oh my gosh, I follow you. I read your newsletters. I love your newsletters. And I think that is it's the most cost effective, because it doesn't really cost that much to do. And it's just a little bit of time. And now with AI, you can do it even easier, or you can get somebody like Jeff who can do it for you if you can't do it. And it just, the stories, people can relate to the stories. And that's the bottom line. When they can relate to it, you're building an unseen emotional connection between you and that person. And that is the start of a relationship. And relationships always turn into business, whether it's with that person specifically or whether they refer you to somebody else. And so I'm a big believer in storytelling. And I'll tell you another one real quick, is that there was somebody else who was writing a newsletter, and his business was telling you how to write newsletters. That's what he did. And I just liked the way he told stories, because it was really interesting. And so I read it, even though I could write the same thing, but I liked what he wrote. Well, he recently retired, and now his newsletter is about retirement, and I'm not interested anymore. Isn't that weird? I'm like, delete, because his stories, and he's still telling stories about retirement, but I can't relate, because I'm never going to get to retire. So I can't really relate to retirement stories. Does that make sense? So I'm just kind of disappointed, because for years and years and years I've been reading his newsletters, and now I don't. So I feel bad. So you want to stay relevant, but you want to, if you're going to completely change what you're talking about, you should probably let your readers know that in advance.
Well, that's it. That's another perfect example of making sure whatever you're doing is what's in it for them. And when they decided, hey, he's going to, and rightly so, when he decided to go from an active business to retirement, then you're right. That no longer made sense to you, because it's like saying, I'm going to teach you how to cook steaks. And you're going, well, I'm a vegetarian. I'm not interested in that. Just because you made a shift, I'm not ready for that. So be aware of that. Now, I want to share an example of how you can tie this in. We're talking about story, because this is not a story that's very old for me, with one of my clients out on the coast. It's in Laguna, and they talk about is that, hey, if you're a homeowner, how often should you change your filter? And they said, well, every 30 to 60 to 90 days max. And the reason it varies is because of your condition. But I want to share with you how important it is to make sure you change it and do it properly. I was called out to a job in Laguna, and we walked in the house. It was a multi-story, very expensive home. And in that home over there on the coast, a lot of times air conditioning's in the attic. Well, the owner had been away and the air conditioning kept cycling on and off, on and off, on and off. Well, it had a dirty filter that got sucked into the system. It would freeze and melt, freeze and melt. Well, about 40,000 gallons of water over the time that they were gone went from the top floor to the bottom floor. Now, changing your filter can be one of the cheapest or the most expensive things that you decide you do. When you need a filter, call XYZ. So that's a situation you're thinking, if my wife heard that, she would have it on her phone and remind me, hey, every 30 days, check that filter, check that filter. So there's how you can tie a story in that is true to your business, that tells you why you're such a narcissist on making sure that you change those filters, because that makes a difference in your air conditioning. That
I'm
could
going to
be an
use that
example.
for a news. I'm going to use that for a newsletter, because
It's true.
that's also why you need absentee home care.
Exactly. So those are that's how you can tie a story in. There are times, Leslie, and I'm driving around, my mind is always alert to a story I'm hearing from a podcast, from a story I'm hearing from a client, from a story I'm hearing from somebody I'm playing pickleball with, that I'm always being aware, hey, can this be content that I can use for future, whether it's emails, newsletters, videos, articles, whatever it is, because of the power of story.
Yeah, it's great. It really is.
All right, so the last thing I want to talk about today, and then we'll let you go, is test and adapt. And Leslie said this early on, where she said, hey, I have this particular offering, but it has it changed over the last 20 years, Leslie? Of your service that you offer?
You mean you don't have the gift certificate, the service itself?
I'm just talking about the service in general. You said, hey, I'm going to start out as an example. I'll give you an example. When I first started my company, it was still called Swing Point Media, but we only did video. That's all we did for local businesses. That's all we did. And they were basically review videos. That's all we did. And the more we were in, the more we saw that the business owner needed more help in many more areas. And we kept adapting and adding. Now, there have been some things like, I'm not a big fan of building websites. Do I build websites? Yes, but only for current customers. I don't go out and hang a shingle for that. But there are many things that fall into digital marketing that I do not do because I'm not an expert at it. It makes my brain hurt. It's not something we said, hey, this is what we want to do. That's what I'm talking about. When you first started, did you adapt and evolve?
Yes, this is a really great topic too, because I see, as I counsel other small business owners, I see a lot of people who came out of a private industry wanting to start their own business, doing whatever it is they want to do. And they sit down and they do a lot of pre-planning and they decide what their service or widgets are going to be. And then they get locked into that. And the problem with getting locked into this is what I'm going to do is that if you don't offer what somebody's looking for, you're going to lose that opportunity. So for us, in our example, we started out doing absentee home care, and I thought, oh, we might do some housekeeping, might do some windows, and I focused on the inside of the house. And I found out really quickly that you also have to do the outside of the house, and you have to. And then clients, as we grew, kept coming to me and say, can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do this? And I'm a big believer in selling with an empty bench, which means say yes to the opportunity and then go figure out real quickly how you're going to do it, right? Because I want to grow my business. So we kept taking on new and different service offerings as clients asked us for stuff. And today we do so much stuff that it's almost incomprehensible to when I'm trying to pitch it to somebody new, which is why I always say to the first thing you should ask a potential new client is, how do you envision working with us? Or what kind of product are you looking for? Or what problem are you trying to solve that you walked into here today or you wanted to talk to me today? Because if you wait and hear and listen to what they actually say, then you can tailor your pitch to them in a way that they will see the value and that, find a problem and fix it, right? So If you can fix their problem, they're more inclined to hire you, buy from you, work with you, use your services. So you do need to get that feedback from your clients. Even if we get, in the rare case where somebody says, hey, I'm going to change what we're doing, we're going to end our engagement, I always say, do you have any feedback you'd like to share? Because we're constantly working to improve our services. And sometimes, and oftentimes when they tell me what it is, it has nothing to do with the quality of our services, but more a change in their life. You know, they're moving, they sold their house, they're getting a divorce, whatever it is. And so asking potential clients or actual clients, why are you buying from us? What problem am I solving? How can I help you? And finding out what they need. And then when they ask you for something you don't do or you don't offer, see if you can offer it. Okay. What is it going to take to offer it? Now, one of the things that I get asked for all the time, and I totally respect I get a headache when I think about this, is people ask me if I will rent homes. You know, do you want to do a rental service, offer rental services? And I do not. It makes me want to throw up when they ask me that. My stomach hurts. And you have to honor that instinctive feeling that you get. Would it be profitable for me? Yes, it could be profitable for me. A lot of people make a lot of money doing rental properties, but that's not what I started my business for. And so while I say, yes, expand your offerings, you still have to pay attention to your intuition and how you feel about it, because you only want to do things that serve you well, right? So quite often I tell people,
define that. Do things that serve you well. What do you mean by that?
meaning by that I have fun doing, that I feel like I'm offering a value to a client, that I don't mind branching off and doing different things, but I have to feel good about it inside. And so typically what I tell people is we are happy to do anything on your to-do list as long as it's legal and it's kind. And I get that same reaction. People smile or they laugh, and that's fine. But I'm serious about that because I have been asked in the early years, can I get a masseuse at my hotel room that's blonde and 5'3"? And, like, that is not my business. I have procured or set up masseuses for bachelorette parties and things like that. But my instincts when they ask it to me that way tell me this is not a good situation, and I'm not in the escort business. So no, but instead of saying no, I say, I would love to help you with this, but all our people are already booked, right? Because I don't want to offend anybody, even if I think they're creepy. So you do need to get feedback, but you need to also honor your instincts when you do things, right? So that's my point about gathering feedback and trying to figure out what new can we offer, what people find value in, how can I best service the community, that sort of thing.
I want to give you the other side of that same coin, because most of you won't get this, but so I'll just real quickly. Back in the day, there used to be records, and this was even before my time.
Records.
There's an A. We called it an A side and a B side, and the A side was where you had the hit song, and the B side was the one you probably never talked about or you never listened to because it was like, not so good. Well, here's the other side of this. I'm going to go back again to my days when I was in the golf business. And I did an analysis at a country club here in the desert where I was at for many, many years. And we did really, really well. But then what happened was the corporation that I worked for said, hey, we've got too much money tied up in these areas. We want you to reduce the inventory in this. And this was golf clubs. I'm like, we're a golf company. We should be having a golf course. We should have golf clubs. Well, we made an adjustment with the customizing and that type of thing. But I started watching this slowly erode the inventory of what our average member, this was a member and a guest community, that what they would want. And I cautioned them. I said, listen, they said, well, they can go to, and they named a company here in the desert, which at that time there was only one. And I said, here's what you're going to do. And tie this back to what Leslie just said. Hey, all my people are tied up. She didn't say we didn't do it. But I said, here's what's going to happen. They're going to go to this company and they're going to buy a driver over there. And they're not just buying a driver, but now they're developing a relationship with someone else who has a lot of the things that you would like us to sell our members. And the only differentiator is the fact that we have our logo on it and they don't. And if that's not important to them, then next thing you know, we'll be seeing them showing up with shirts and shoes and slacks, and they're buying their golf balls there. And the only thing we're doing is selling them the golf. That's it. They're not, and all of a sudden this $5 or $7 million a year operation goes down to 2 or 3. Well, roll that out about 5 years, and that's exactly what happened, even though I cautioned them on that. And it's not that I'm this prognosticator. I'm just another person. If I keep going to another restaurant that gives me this type of things, eventually I'm going to stop going to that other restaurant. Like, tell me if this isn't true. Do you have restaurants that you go to that you only eat and order this type of food? Like you say, hey, when we go there, I only order the pizza. When I go here, I only have the hot hamburger. When I go here, only because you have said they have the best of what they offer, and that's
Right.
why I go there. That's what happens if you don't say, hey, get some feedback, refine your offerings based on your customers' responses and expectations. And quite frankly, one of the best places you can go are your reviews. If you're not getting your reviews, please go and look at them and say, what are the things that stand out? What are the things that they're not happy with? How can I fix that? And then go back and dig in. It's not easy to talk to a customer that's not happy with you, but that could be the most valuable piece of conversation you could have that would give you insight to say, oh, I see where we're dropping the ball. I see where we're actually have an opportunity to improve ourselves. So gathering that feedback to allow you to test and adapt may be, again, today, one of the most important pieces of content, in my opinion, that you can have.
I agree. I agree completely. It's if you don't ask somebody how you can best help them, you can't. The worst thing you can do is sit down and go with a canned speech about something. These are the product. This is our inventory, or this is the services I offer. This is all I do. And go on and on about how great it is, and you're trying to put it into what's in it for them context. So you're doing all the right things, except if that's not what they're looking for, none of that matters. So you really have to understand what your potential client needs and how you can help them. And I don't care whether you're selling washing machines. My question, if I was selling washing machines, were, oh, you're looking at a new washing machine. Do you have a really big family? How many loads a week do you do? I would try to figure out, do I sell them a large capacity machine? Maybe they need 2 machines, maybe a stackable, what kind of space requirements, limitations do you have? There's all these questions that you can ask before you pitch something so that you get it to the right place for them. And it's kind of a subliminal. People don't even really realize you're doing it when you start that way. In fact, it makes them feel good because you're telling them you value their input and opinion. So there's a lot of good benefit to seeking feedback.
Well, we've all heard of the company called Sleep Number Bed, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're very expensive. And some friends of ours took them up on their 90 days. Oh, no, actually, I think it was 100 days on them. So they had it brought in their home, very expensive bed. These people are very well off, and they got the bed, and they had to buy specific sheets for this because it split in the middle and all this kind of stuff. And all the things that they felt in the showroom were great. Well, we had dinner with them a couple of nights ago, and they said, we sent the bed back. And I'm like, oh my God, you got to be kidding me. And he said, I said, why? And they said, well, it has a heating and cooling, but every time the cool thing comes on my wife's, like, she likes it colder in the bed. It's like, it's a loud fan and it wakes everybody up. I'm like, that's kind of goofy. And then they said it has a heating element in it, but in the showroom, when they were on the bed, there was no comfort, or there was no topper on it. And so you could feel the heat. Now you have it turned up as high as you can, and you barely feel it because it has the mattress protector on there. Well, long story short, they took the bed back. It was picked up, but then they took the sheets back to the Sleep Number company here in our area. And he said, what surprised me? I said, what's that? He said, they didn't even ask why we were turning. He said, you got to be kidding me. He said, And again, he owns a company. He does very, very well. He said that would be the first thing I ask you, because maybe I could have recovered that. Or
Right.
worst case scenario, I can give that feedback. Here we go. Feedback to the company, and they can refine it, and maybe I could save a sale. They didn't even ask. They said, here's your chargeback. Thanks for the sheets. Sayonara. So now they're on another company for another 100-day trial. I said, geez, you can keep doing this for years. But that wasn't what they were doing. They really wanted this bed with all these features, but they didn't even ask. That's so important.
Right.
Well,
Okay.
Leslie,
Got a summary?
I was going to say, Leslie, you had something you mentioned earlier on, that there's a webinar that you do. If you're a real estate agent out there, you do this online, don't you?
Yeah, it's not for real estate agents. It's about how to market to real estate agents and to
Oh,
market to homeowners associations or property managers. So if you're looking, if you're wondering how to penetrate that market, I have a free webinar every Wednesday. There is a Evite link for registration. I'll send that to you, and you maybe can include it when we do the, on the screen.
great.
And that will, it's a free hour that I do live, and you can ask questions and learn how to market to those industries.
Leslie, thank you so much. Always a pleasure to do this with you. Today,
you.
we talked about setting yourself apart. It's, as Leslie has a little challenge with entrepreneur, differentiation
The
is
words,
the word is tough. Differentiation, that's setting yourself apart for all the way through. If you're just getting on, make sure you go back and look at this, speed through our stories. But if you speed through the stories, you forget the message, because stories help you remember. Leslie, as always, thank you so much. I appreciate your wealth of knowledge. And, keep in mind, this is not just for newbies. We're talking
No.
about those first year business owners, because, hey, let's face it, if you don't make it through the first year, you'll never be someone like Leslie or myself that have been doing their businesses for decades. It's
Right.
real important to get that first footing correct. It's like if you go on a trip and you don't pack the right shoes, and you're going on the hike the first day, you've got blisters for a long time. So make sure you get the right shoes.
Well, there's no reason to make a mistake. I mean, and we all make mistakes, but why make the ones we made already? Learn from us, or let us help you so that you can save some money and not make mistakes. That would be the ideal situation.
Right. Well, again, my name is Jeff Harris. I own a company called Swing Point Media. We are a digital marketing agency. We help service-based businesses attract more of their ideal clients using digital marketing and artificial intelligence and automation. Leslie?
I'm Leslie Spohr with not Executive Errands. That is my company, but Concierge Business Solutions, where we help small business owners optimize their businesses one detail at a time. And we also have the software Essential Elements that will streamline and increase efficiency for your business.
Until next time, have a great week, and go out there and set yourself apart. Thanks.
That's right. Thanks.